So, okay, before I get started, I just got to say, it's interesting to me with my line of work. Whenever I go to work, which of course happens to be where I am at this very moment right now, someone always stands up and they read all these different things about things that I've done, my accomplishments, right? I always find myself looking at that person thinking, man, I'm awesome. I mean, I'm no more awesome or amazing or interesting than any other person in this room, and yet I'm going to guess that when you go to work, that never happens. And all of a sudden, one of your coworkers jumps up on top of their desk and they're like, "Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention, please? I'm not sure if you've noticed, but Susan Wilkins has just walked into the room. She's raised 3 children. She's coached the hockey team. She started her own business, and she did this with hardly any sleep, considering the fact that her husband snores." Why is it that just because I am a professional speaker, that whenever I go to my job, everyone always gives me a round of applause, but when you go to your job, no one gives you a round of applause? So I don't think that's fair. Let's give them the standing ovation that they deserve. On the count of 3, folks. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Today, what I'm going to talk about are the 4 conversations that every leader needs to be able to create. Now, a lot of managers and directors and CEOs and healthcare providers and people in general, they do understand this. They do understand that I need to make sure I check in with the human beings that I'm working with on a daily basis, and so they make a slight effort, right? They'll say, "So how was your weekend?" The person said, "Oh, it's pretty good." They're like, "Yeah, it's great. Okay, I'll see you for lunch." True leaders understand the importance of the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th question. They understand the importance of being able to engage people on a human level. How many people in this room have ever emailed somebody who's less than 20 feet away from them? Second question, who here has ever made a phone call and hoped to get the answering machine and not the person? True leaders understand that you can make a connection with another human being in less than 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. All we ever have to do is ask something I like to call part 2 questions. The second conversation we need to be able to create is one where I call it the true story conversation. And then the leader finds out what's really going on. And then by doing that, they allow themselves to engage that individual on something meaningful. And all they did was ask why. I realized that we as human beings are a lot more alike than we are different. And I know this is true, and yet, unfortunately, when we're having conversations with each other, we're treating each other as if we're so different. Just to prove to you as an example of how alike we actually are, let me ask you a couple quick questions. And if you can answer yes, just raise your hand. All right, last question. Who in this room has ever done an internet search on somebody that they thought was attractive just to see if they could find pictures of them on the internet? What? I never even knew you could do that. You see, I come from a typical family, like many of you, parents who immigrated from another country into Canada. They came to this country with $150 in their pocket. My parents used to live in a tent, as a matter of fact. Lifestyles of the rich and famous. And it was in that moment that I thought to myself, if this guy can change the conversation of his mind, then I can do the exact same thing. And that's when I tapped into something that totally changed my life. You may have heard of it. It's called stupidity. And then 14 years later, after having this stupid conversation in my mind every day, every week, and every year, I woke up and I looked back and I realized I had just spoken to 1 million people. I'd be lying to you to say that it didn't hurt to have your parents tell you that you should go down a different path. I could be lying to you if I didn't tell you it didn't hurt when the woman of my dreams said to me, "You know what, I can't stick around for this," and went the other way. But what am I going to do in those situations? Stop having that conversation in my mind? There's no way, because I need a team. And how am I going to have a team work with me if I'm not going to be willing to have that conversation in my mind? That unrealistic conversation of a leader. Because everyone in this room is meant for greatness. Everyone in this room is meant for something special. Whether it's the greatest mom, the greatest dad, the greatest caregiver, the greatest CEO or manager or director. Maybe it's the greatest traveler, the greatest blog writer, the greatest painter, the greatest person that just makes people laugh. We have the opportunity to tap into our greatness every single day as leaders, as long as we allow ourselves to have that unrealistic conversation. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.